nervous electricity that no one could quite name. Under the blinding lights of the View, where voices often clashed and opinions soared. A different storm was quietly building. Not one of raised tempers or political fire, but something colder, more personal. Michael B. Jordan, stepping onto the set in a sleek midnight navy suit, had no idea that within the hour his public image would be cracked open on live TV like a porcelain mask. He arrived early, as always punctual, polite, gracious, the kind of professionalism that had become his signature. Along with that radiant smile and sharp-cut jawline that tabloids and casting directors alike couldn't stop talking about. But today his smile didn't stretch as wide. He felt it. The glances, the stiffness, even the intern with the Starbucks tray avoided lingering near him. His publicist gave him a brief smile glued to her phone. "Just be you," she whispered, almost as if she was apologizing for something. And then came the moment that sealed the air shut. Whoopi Goldberg walked in. No eye contact, no greeting, no nod. She brushed past Michael like he wasn't there, like he hadn't just spent 20 years clawing his way to this exact couch. He watched her settle in at the moderator's seat, flipping through her notes with a cold focus that made the hairs on his neck rise. The countdown began. 5, 4, 3. Camera lights flared, and the theme music roared through the studio. Cheers erupted from the audience. Joy Behar opened the show with her usual sarcastic warmth, followed by Sunny Hostin and Sarah N. And then the introduction came. "Please welcome Michael B. Jordan." Applause, cheers. The audience loved him. Michael stepped onto the stage. With ease, he shook hands, he smiled, and for the first few minutes, it felt like just another polished press stop. They asked him about his new film, a powerful legal drama based on a true story. He spoke with passion. About incarceration, youth rehabilitation, and storytelling as activism. His voice carried weight, intention. Everything was going smoothly, until it wasn't. The moment it happened, the room felt it before it even unfolded. A pause, a shift in energy. Whoopi leaned in, slow and deliberate, her voice lower than usual, cutting through the applause like a cold wind. "I have to ask you something that's been on my mind for a while now." Michael turned slightly, giving her his full attention. Strong, heroic, clean-cut. "But tell me this, are you just another pretty face that Hollywood handed everything to?" You could hear the silence settle over the set like dust in a church. Even the audience seemed to exhale at once. Michael blinked. "I'm sorry, could you repeat that, Whoopi?" "Didn't flinch, you heard me." The moment stretched long and tense. Joy leaned forward, trying to cut in, her voice higher now. "Well now, Whoopi." But Whoopi didn't budge. Her gaze locked on Michael like a sniper. This wasn't curiosity. This was confrontation. Michael leaned back, keeping his voice calm. "I've worked in this industry since I was a teenager. Nothing was handed to me. I earned every credit, every role." She didn't blink. "Have you? Or did Hollywood look at your face and see dollar signs?" It was venom in disguise, cloaked in faux inquiry. But the accusation was clear. "You're not real." Sunny Hostin coughed lightly, visibly uncomfortable. Sarah looked to the producers off camera. Joy tried again. "I mean, let's not forget, Fruitvale Station, Creed, Just Mercy. The man's resume speaks for itself." But Whoopi wasn't interested in resumes. "I'm not saying he didn't work," Whoopi said, staring straight into the lens now, like she wanted America to hear this. "I'm saying some of us had to climb over barbed wire to get here. He got a red carpet." Michael's jaw tightened, not visibly, not dramatically, but it was there. A flash of anger behind his pupils, like a storm forming behind glass. "With respect," he said slowly, "you don't know what I climbed through. To get here." That line cracked through the room like thunder. Whoopi leaned back slightly, smirked. "I know what this town does," she said. "I've been here. I've bled for every role. So I'm not black enough for you, unless I'm scarred." That was it. You could feel the audience's collective gasp. The production crew froze. Joy actually whispered, "Oh boy," under her breath. Whoopi didn't blink. "Don't twist my words, baby. I'm asking you to acknowledge the privilege of beauty in a business that uses it to sell lies." "Privilege," Michael replied. "Let me tell you about privilege. Privilege isn't growing up in Newark trying to dodge violence. Privilege Isn't watching your mom clean houses while you audition for roles that cast you as thug number 3? Privilege isn't knowing you have to work twice as hard to be taken half as seriously. His voice didn't rise. That made it worse. The control, the weight behind each syllable. I'm not here because of my face, he continued. I'm here because I outlasted the doubt. Because I studied, trained, hustled, and bled too. And if that bothers you, maybe it says more about where you're sitting than where I came from. Whoopi raised an eyebrow. She was quiet for a beat too long. You think I'm bitter? She finally asked. Michael didn't answer. The silence filled the space like smoke. Joy shifted in her seat. Let's pivot to the film, but it was too late. The tension had broken through the screen. Twitter was already on fire. The clip, barely 2 minutes long, would be on every news feed before the commercial break ended. Sarah tried to lighten the mood with a question about Michael's foundation work. He answered politely, but the air had changed. The camera kept catching Whoopi staring at him, jaw tight. Michael never looked her way again. When the segment ended, he smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. The moment the cameras shut off, Whoopi stood and walked off the stage without a word. Michael watched her go, said nothing, just sat there, still in his chair, like a man who had just seen behind the curtain. What the audience didn't see was what happened backstage. Michael's publicist met him at the wings, eyes wide. I didn't know she was going to go there. He just nodded. But it wasn't, because that exchange, that quiet seismic clash, had unearthed something deeper. Not just about race, not just about legacy, it was about respect, earned, demanded, denied. Michael walked out of the studio without speaking to a single host. Was only beginning because by the time he reached his hotel, the headlines had already hit. Michael B. Jordan confronts Whoopi Goldberg. Live on The View, Whoopi questions MBJ's legacy. Fans erupt Hollywood's dirty mirror. What really happened on The View? The footage was viral. Of views, millions of opinions. Others furious, accusing her of bitterness, of trying to cut down a black man who hadn't bowed. And in the center of the storm, a man who had just wanted to promote a film. He sat alone in his suite that night. Phone buzzing, emails flooding in. Offers for interviews, damage control calls, but he didn't move, just stared at the darkened skyline, asking himself the same question that echoed from the studio hours earlier. Are you just a pretty face? He let the silence answer for him, and deep down, maybe it was time to change the script. Absolutely. Here's part 2 of your rewritten script approx. 15,000 characters, continuing seamlessly from part 1 without repeated intros or headings, and maintaining the same Netflix style, emotionally explosive. Unsure whether to laugh, gasp, or pretend they weren't witnessing what they absolutely were, a dismantling. He leaned back slightly, his voice. Whoopi raised an eyebrow, amused, almost daring him to continue. You think being the face helped me? Said I wasn't black enough or street enough. You think they were cheering me on? The camera stayed tight on his face. You know better. You've lived this life too long to ask me that. Whoopi folded her arms. I've lived this life long enough to know who the industry chooses and who it doesn't, and I've seen a lot of brothers rise fast and fall even faster because they believed their own hype. The tension twisted into something else now, ancestral almost. Not just about him, not just about her. It was about the seat at the table, and who got to decide who deserved it. Sarah N. tried to step in. She leaned forward, smile awkward, fingers fiddling with her mug. Let's shift gears a bit, maybe. Talk more about the production side. I know you, Whoopi cut her off, without even turning her head. I'm not finished. Michael straightened. Up? Something shifted in him, a quiet decision to stop absorbing and start returning fire. I directed that film because I couldn't wait anymore for someone else to give me the chance. I've financed projects that would never get greenlit. I've mentored kids who've never seen a camera in their neighborhood, and I did it while being called to mainstream. Too polished, not radical enough. And now, I sit here being asked if I was just handed it all? He exhaled. Respectfully, that's not a question. That's a slap in the face. There was a beat of silence. Not even the clatter of a teacup. Whoopi's face, unreadable. Her voice, low, sometimes. People need to be slapped in the face. Wakes them up. Michael blinked. Then it happened. He laughed, just once. This is bitterness dressed up like insight. Joy Behar's hand shot up like a traffic cop, trying to rescue what was rapidly spinning into disaster. Okay, deep breaths, everybody. We're all friends here, right? The audience chuckled nervously, a few claps tension, wanted a place to go. But no one was letting it off the leash just yet. Whoopi turned away from Joy and locked eyes with Michael again. You want the world to see you as a leader, a revolutionary. But what are you really risking? Michael answered before she could finish. My peace. His voice cracked barely. But it was real. I risk my peace every day. I step outside and try to carry a whole race on my back just to make a movie. I risk my identity every time I walk into a room and wonder if I should talk more street, more tough, more raw, just to prove I belong. He looked at the audience now. I risk my own voice, trying to fit into a box that was never made for me in the first place. Silence again, heavy, purposeful. Then, from the crowd, a voice, female, strong. Say that again. Applause erupted this time from deep in the room. A woman in the third row stood and clapped. Another followed, then another dot within seconds. Half the studio was on their feet. Not everyone, but enough to shift the whole air of the set. Michael didn't smile. He didn't nod. He just sat there, breath steady, eyes forward. Whoopi looked around, and for the first time in the whole segment, her expression cracked, not in shame, not in defeat, but in ... reflection. She looked older in that moment, not weak, but weathered. No, she said. Quieter now. I've been the only black woman on this panel for a long time, longer than most people expected me to last. I've fought wars behind these cameras no one ever saw. She looked down at the desk, then back. Up. Maybe I didn't like seeing someone rise without bleeding like I bled. Maybe I assumed the pain was missing. Michael nodded. It wasn't. The two sat there, locked in that truth. No music, no applause. Cue. Just raw, messy, human honesty. Finally, Joy cleared her throat. Well, that was ... powerful. The crew. He didn't pull away, but he didn't smile either. Whoopi leaned back in her chair, slowly taking off her glasses. For a moment, she just looked at him. Not the actor, not the director, but the man. Backstage, Michael's publicist looked like she'd aged 10 years. She held her phone up, already buzzing from social media. Michael walked off set, his steps slow, but purposeful. A junior producer whispered to another, that wasn't an interview, that was a reckoning. The clip would go viral in under 10 minutes, trending worldwide in less than an hour. But Michael didn't care. He wasn't thinking about the hashtags, the uncomfortable truth, that even the people who look like you sometimes forget what it took to become you. He exited the studio, exhaled into the summer air, and disappeared into the New York crowd. The conversation had begun, and it would not be ending any time soon.